want to give a huge shout out to the last presentation, Krista, and all the tools that can be used at home and the whole ECE team and all you're doing to help our kids. And thanks everyone for joining us. The first thing I want to look at is this quote on the right from Dr. Coleman, and the words that stand out to me are flexible, learner-centered, multiple, and varied. So why are you here? To learn from Rachel and Danielle about what they've been doing with virtual number talks. We know number talks are best practice because they engage students and it's all learner-centered. And Rachel and Danielle have lots of ideas how to engage students synchronously with Google Meet and Jamboard and asynchronously with Flipgrid and Jamboard. And Flipgrid can be used anonymously. So before we start, I want you to really think about this. What is the best that can happen? And I keep asking that, and I'm seeing these amazing examples come across Twitter and come across the Virtual Learning Channel. And we're learning and growing in such huge ways. We infuse our classrooms with this growth mindset, but I'm seeing that happen with adults as we give each other grace and learn and stretch through this process. So thank you for all you're doing. I also want to look at the backpack of success skills and the other two pillars as well. When I think about number talks, I realize that students are being resilient learners. They're emerging innovators as they invent strategies to solve problems. And they're definitely effective communicators as they share their strategies with others, which is also the standard of Math Practice 3. And as we think about equity, which is the lens of everything we do to make sure every kid is successful, number talks in the classroom have a specific protocol, but it's a little more challenging during NTI, and I can't wait for you to hear from Rachel and Danielle. And we know climate and culture is the foundation of everything we do. Kids only learn things from people that they like and respect, and they'll respect them. And Rachel talks about how her community that was inside the live walls moved into her virtual. So how might we adapt number talks in the virtual environment? If a number talk is a 5 to 15 minute classroom conversation around a purposely crafted problem that students solve mentally, and then as students share and defend their solutions and strategies, they've got opportunities to collaboratively reason about number, math understanding, and build number sense. When you look at the picture at the left, it's a live number talk, and the protocol is in the center. Well, the teacher can certainly pose an intentional problem, whether it's live or virtual. Students can solve them mentally with norms. They may use hand signals, especially if you're using smaller groups. The teacher's going to accept all solutions, but maybe they record it, maybe the kids do. You'll hear from Rachel and how she's used Flipgrid to see what students can do there. We know necessity breeds innovation, and our teachers have been innovative, and I hope you're adding innovative ways in the chat as well. If you have any questions for myself or Rachel or Danielle or Elizabeth, we'll answer those at the end too. I hope you have a few minutes to watch the video on the left because the slideshow is linked, and it's from Ruth Parker and Kathy Humphreys. They are the mothers of number talks. They invented, and Ruth said that number talks support every student to see themselves as a mathematician. Number talks flip the script. Instead of the teacher standing and delivering and being the giver of all information, students are in the center of this, and we're uncovering what they already know, and they see themselves as capable learners and growers. Zaretta Hammond's text, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, she refers to the inequity of many of our students of color, English learners, and those in poverty. And that chart displayed is from her text, talking about the dependent learners that we can create, but how do we move them to be independent thinkers and learners? Number talks is but one structure we can do that. So looking at the right, there are a few noticings from PLCs across the district as we've modeled and coached number talks. Teachers in JCPS are doing amazing work and making all the difference to allow students to see themselves as mathematicians. The large graphic is from John Hattie's meta study. At point 4, right in the center, that's the hinge point. Anything above that is desired effect. Point 4 is considered about a year's growth. If you'll notice, activating prior knowledge and using it to make connections, that's got a growth of 0.93, greater than 2 years, which is exactly what we want to do, accelerate our students. And Number Talks activate that prior knowledge when we build manipulatives and use base 10 frames to show kids the problems. Notice explicitly naming and reinforcing strategies. That has an effect size of 0.57, greater than a year again, accelerating learning. As I see teachers name the strategy, make a 10 or pretend to 10 or decompose, they're handing that strategy to every student in the room as a tool, growing their learners. The next two, opportunities for students to self-assess and monitor. As students are justifying, they're thinking and rethinking their math, and they're evaluating themselves. I also look at the opportunities for discourse, 0.83, again, 2 years of growth, because we're providing students opportunities to listen to one another and learn together. And that can be done in the virtual world as well. And last but not least, building math confidence and student agency. That is my complete heart. Jo Boaler is one of my favorite heroes or sheroes. And one of her norms is all students can learn math at high levels. We all believe that. And when we do this, we build student agency to affect kids in greater than 2 years. So I've talked a lot, so I want to pause a moment and ask you, what's resonating with you? And we're going to use Jamboard, and I bet most of you have already used it because it's a super easy tool. To get there, you go to your waffle, and I learned yesterday from Kathleen that I can move my tools around in my waffle, and you click Jamboard, and you'll open a new one. I've created one, and I think Russ is going to post that in the chat. And I'd love for you to open that from the chat, and it should look like this. And you take the 4th Post-it note down on the left and enter a phrase from you. What's resonating? What are you thinking about right now? How might Number Talks support building the community in your classroom? As I give you a minute to reflect on the Jamboard, I'm going to pass the mic to Rachel.
Hey everybody, it's Rachel Schwager. I teach 2nd grade at Wilder. When we started the NTI process a few weeks ago, I had many thoughts and questions, as I'm sure you all did. I was thinking, will I see my kids again? How are they doing? What are they doing? How will I connect with them? How will I engage them in meaningful learning opportunities? And I immediately thought about Number Talks. Flipgrid has allowed me to reconnect with my students, reestablish those relationships, and engage students in our number sense routine. Number Talks were such an important part of our classroom community, and that 10 to 15 minute routine was our favorite part of the day in the classroom. I also think it's safe to say that it is still the best part of our NTI days. Students have voice and choice during Number Talks. They all have an opportunity to come together to share their mathematical thinking, engage in discussions, both verbally when they share their answers to problems and explain their chosen strategies, and non-verbally by using the hand signals. Because of daily Number Talks, my students have learned to mentally solve problems accurately, efficiently, and flexibly. My students ask each other questions, they give each other feedback, they encourage one another, and we celebrate each other's successes. They have all grown tremendously, and they themselves recognize their own growth and potential, and that is so powerful. Number Talks look slightly different now, but students are still using mental math strategies to solve problems. They're still sharing their thinking, and they're still receiving immediate feedback from both myself and their peers. As you can see with the visuals on this screen, and these are actually from last week, the numbers have increased significantly. I want to say they've tripled. Students are still sharing their thinking and receiving immediate feedback. And looking at the screen, you can see that we had over 7 hours of engagement for both reading and math. And the April 16th Number Talk included 7 responses, 57 views, and almost an hour of engagement. This is a quick way to tell if students are engaged. Flipgrid has allowed them to have a choice while explaining their thinking, just like they had in the classroom setting. Students can choose to either record with video and audio, or just audio while using the virtual whiteboard to explain their thinking. And of course, they still have a choice as to what mental math strategy they want to use. As you will see on the next slide, a student becomes the teacher when she records her thinking. Here I have one of my students solve 28 plus 29, and she explains her thinking while showing her work. Pay close attention to her strategies and her effective communication, not to mention her confidence. This definitely made my week last week. We'll go ahead and play the video.
So I'm going to be doing my thinking of 28 plus 29. I look backwards. So I did 20 plus 20 equals 40. And then so I put my 10s together. And then I put my 1s together, which was 8 plus 9 equals 17. And then in my 17, I had a 10. So I did 40 plus 10 equals 50. And then I know that, and then my 1s of 17, I did 50 plus 7 equals 57. So that was my answer, 57. So, yeah. Bye.
She did a wonderful job. I chose her for a reason. She recorded her thinking on paper. And when I first started to plan number talks with Flipgrid, I envisioned my students looking at the camera with no paper and explaining how they solved the problem. But here, she became the teacher, which is so powerful. She did it mentally. She still used her strategies, but she had to go a step further and record her thinking so she could share it, like I or the teachers would do in the classroom. She explained she added by place value, adding the 10s, then the 1s, then decomposed the 17 into 10 and 7, adding the 10 to 40 for a partial sum of 50 before finally adding the 7 1s to get a sum of 57. Her classmates will gain and have gained from watching her because she had a visual. They're used to watching me record their thinking on chart paper, and this particular student is also one who would frequently choose to lead mini number talks during indoor recess when we couldn't go outside. So this was definitely natural for her. Now, I do have some kids who look at the camera the whole time and they talk it out. They can choose what is best for them, but they know to read the problem and immediately solve it using mental math strategies. On the next slide, you'll see that Flipgrid is wonderful for sharing feedback, and you can also differentiate as well. This can be done in a couple different ways. Pictured above is one of my students who defended his answer of 63 for the problem 25 plus 38. I listened to his video a few times, and then I recorded his thinking on the whiteboard before I sent it back to him. You have the choice of recording the video yourself giving feedback, or just your voice as you record on the virtual whiteboard. Andrea, do we have time to play my response back to him?
Yes, ma'am. I'll play it right now. There we go.
Hey, Amir, I heard that you added your 10s first. You added 20 plus 30. And you said that's equal to 50. I heard you then add the 5 and 25 to 50. And you said that is equal to 55. I then heard you say that you broke apart the 8 and 38 into 5 and 3. You have a number bond for 8. You added 5 to 55 for a partial sum of 60. And then you added your 3, the other part of your number bond of 8, to 60 for a sum of 63. Awesome job, Amir. I'm so proud of you.
So I listened to his video a few times, and then I recorded his thinking just like I would have done in the classroom. I then was able to share that feedback and send it back to him, as you can see with that green up arrow. And then he was able to watch that. And I've spoken with him since, and he has, and he seemed really excited about it. So some next steps for my kids are for them to respond to each other, giving specific feedback, and some have since last week, but not everyone has. And I really want them to give that a try, just like they would have done in the classroom. I want them to think about how they might be able to support or teach their friends based on what they are hearing that their classmates share. Flipgrid has allowed me to continue with our number sense routine and engage students in meaningful learning opportunities with Number Talks. Through this platform, I have continued to build my community, give my students voice and choice, support their use of different mental math strategies, and promote independent learning. Flipgrid is a great platform for Number Talks, and it has yielded high student engagement while building our virtual community. My Wilder Wildcats are effective communicators and resilient learners, and I'm incredibly proud of them. Thank you all so much for joining and tuning in, and please reach out if you have any questions. I will be getting back to a few emails this afternoon, and I will go ahead and pass it on to my friend Danielle.
All right. Hi, my name's Danielle, and I'm going to share how to use Jamboard with Number Talks. So very similar to what Rachel was telling you, Number Talks and warm-ups were a key part of our day in the classroom. And I really wanted to recreate that for students because it was something that my students look forward to every day, and it was consistent for them. And I know that during NTI, it is super important to make things as consistent as possible for our students and as normal as possible for our students. So I tried using the standard method of having paper in a Google Meet with my kiddos when I was meeting with them and recording their thinking like I would in the classroom. And after it, one student said that they wish they could write their own strategies. And I kind of thought about that for a little bit because I know that that's not traditional for us. But I think the students felt a little disconnected watching through the screen. NTI is so different than traditionally sitting together and students being engaged right there. So I knew I needed to find a way to really engage them. So I'll be completely transparent and say that I had seen on Twitter Jamboard being used in other ways. I hadn't seen any Number Talks yet, but I thought, why not try it? So I opened up a Jamboard and I created a new page for each part because I use Jamboard with a typical string of problems, just like you do as in a Number Talk in the classroom. So I created a new page for each problem in our string of problems. I made the settings so that anyone with the link could edit it. And when we got together on our Google Meet, I sent the link through the chat. And I've had so many students joining since starting this. So what they do is they open the chat up at the same time that we are in the Google Meet. So we discuss like we would in the classroom, and then we add our thinking to the Jamboard at the same time. So we kind of have two forms of communication going. It's not perfect right now. It's not going to be. I'm still changing and learning and growing with my students about how to make this work. But I will say that it virtually is a little bit longer for Number Talks than in the classroom. In the traditional classroom, you're seeing that 5 to 15 minutes. Virtually, I'm seeing closer to 20 minutes. We know that everything online takes a little bit longer. It has been a challenge to flip the script in this way, but I have realized that students are engaged and excited when they have a role. They just want to see that they have a part in their learning right now, since things are so different for them as well. I'm really letting my students drive this learning for us. So as you can see on the next slide, I've had really high engagement through this. So I've included some traditional aspects and some non-traditional aspects. So traditionally, we know that students show hand signals when they have their strategy. And my kiddos still do this on Google Meet. They show me how many strategies they have, and they show me when they're ready. And so when everyone is ready, I call on the students and they defend their answer. They actually add their own sticky. So as you can see with the green arrow on this slide, you can see that the word multiplying is spelled wrong because this is something one of my kiddos actually added. So that's where I have changed it, made it a little non-traditional. They add their own sticky for their different strategies. So you can see with the yellow one there that the green arrow is pointing to, and then the blue on the side. After we discuss and talk about all the different strategies, students have actually, as I said, I let them drive this. So they have asked to add thinking. So they add sticky notes around saying if they agree or disagree or if they have the same strategy. So a lot of kiddos right here on this slide had the same strategy as the student. So they all added their I agrees. And that's a way for them to all be involved since maybe not all of them are sharing strategies. So they really, really like that engagement part. Down at the bottom, as you can see, there is a circle around some sticky notes, because at the bottom, one thing that I have learned, and my STC helped me out with this idea, was adding a little critical thinking moment to challenge their thinking. Just like in number talks, we might ask them a question towards the end or while we're discussing, like, wait, could I do this to solve it? So you can see that, and a student responded there. So you're really able to challenge their thinking. My students really comment a lot on liking the organization of this. They like to see all of their work all around. And I really like that I can drag sticky notes to compare two student strategies. So if I see two strategies that are similar or that I want students to compare and discuss, I can drag those and we can see them side by side. I kind of see this number talk in this way as kind of a concept map for math. They can see how all of the different strategies align and look together. So we are really enjoying this. If you click to the next slide, and this is another example within the same string of problems. And this was a couple problems after that first one. And the one thing I really wanted to point out on this slide is I know this is very non-traditional, but my students are explaining their thinking in writing and math, which I think is so powerful. Anytime that we can get our kiddos to take what they're thinking in their head and not only verbalize it, but also put it on a sticky note. So the student with the arrow pointing to them and the purple sticky note, she verbalized all of that. And then I said, okay, can you put it on a sticky note? She thought about it for a minute, but she was able to. And it was very powerful because she was talking about taking away a group of 40. One thing that I really liked on here is showing that my community in my classroom is continuing to build. So as you can see, the arrow that points up with the green sticky note, a student said, I did not think of this strategy, but now I want to use it, which is exactly what we're wanting them to do in number talks. We're wanting them to grab strategies from each other and continue to try and build their knowledge of all the different strategies they can use. So they are still learning from one another, and I don't have it to show you today, but the next problem, that student actually did try that strategy, which I absolutely love, that they are still continuing to learn from each other and build in that way, even though we're learning virtually. So feedback. I'm doing this live in a Google Meet, so synchronously with my kiddos. And something that Andre and I have discussed that I'm going to start doing is kiddos that can't join live, posting this back into our Google Classroom stream so that they can go back and add their thinking to what the students in the classroom have already added, maybe with a different colored sticky note, so that they can still be a part of the classroom even if they can't join synchronously. But when doing this live, I'm able to hear students, just like I would in the classroom, develop those strategies, which students maybe I could set up a one-on-one with if we need, or if we need to do another similar number talk. This is too easy if we're ready to move on. What strategies are we missing? So I'm getting to use the same feedback that I would in the classroom, and the students are really begging for more. They love to get on to do these number talks, and they love the consistency of it. A lot of them every day are like, are we doing a number talk at this time today? Or they'll text each other to get on. So it's really, really powerful. So Jamboard has allowed a powerful practice from my classroom to continue during NTI. And I am so thankful for that. If you have any ideas for using Jamboard to number talk, or if you have tried it and would like to collaborate, I would love to hear from you. If you want to email me, tag me on Twitter, anything like that, I would love to collaborate with you. So now I'm going to pass the mic off to Elizabeth to wrap us up for the day.
I just want to thank Danielle and Rachel again for sharing their stories. Every time we've shared this, they add a little bit more that they've learned as they're continuing to do this in their classrooms. And I'm just thankful for their reflection and their willingness to step out. And I know they've inspired a lot of you all to try this too. We have office hours every day from 10 to 11 as an elementary math team. So please feel free to write down, maybe take a quick screenshot of that Google code there, Google Meet code. Come and join us. We love to bounce ideas, brainstorm with you, and kind of think of other ways that we can help you all, reach your kids in this time. Because we're all in this together. So we're here to support however we can. I didn't see any questions in the chat. A couple people were looking for where they could locate some information, but I think they were able to get that. And that Jamboard will stay open. So if you all want to revisit that link later and post any learnings or celebrations or things like that, feel free to do that throughout the day. That'll stay open there too.